Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know this beat, it's your girl Kyra B coming at you for a new video. Today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 5 reunion and also tying in episode 10, which was the wedding episode, with it. So let's get right into the video because, let's get right into the video. So episode 10, we basically are down to our only two couples going to the altar, which are Stacy and Izzy and Milton and Lydia. So we see Stacy and Izzy's wedding first. They left off basically having an argument about, Izzy's bad credit score or whatever. They get to the wedding day and, Izzy's a bit nervous. They just had that fight, whatever. They needed space, whatever. They're at the altar. Izzy says, I do. And then it's Stacy's turn. Stacy basically says she doesn't. And then ends up kissing him. And he was like, oh, I understand, da-da-da-da-da. Next thing you know, I guess after being consulted with his mother and actually really thinking about it, he kind of was very upset, which is very understandable. He just got rejected at the altar. And, seems like Stacy was she just needed more time and she would probably try to, reconvene their relationship at a later time or something like that. And I guess Izzy, wasn't having it because he was like, if it's not now, then when? So we get to the reunion with them and they're at the reunion. Now we get to Milton and Lydia'S wedding. And, Lydia was just she's not nervous, no jitters, nothing. She just even though they had that, disagreement at that last, dinner, she's still very sure about marrying Milton. Milton, same way. He went to work, came back from work, didn't get any sleep, but he was ready to go and get married to Lydia. So we thought okay, he might say no, whatever, He just basically coming straight directly from work to his wedding day, which was very wild. But at the end of the day, Lydia said yes. He also said yes. And they end up being the only couple getting married. I actually kind of knew that would have happened because based off of two things. One, the preview is very much revealing. When we saw the preview for episodes 10, we basically see Stacy and Izzy, Stacy in her wedding dress, trying to walk over to Izzy. And you don't, obviously, the bride is not supposed to see the groom before getting married. So, if you're walking over to Izzy in your wedding dress, that's letting me know that, yeah, you didn't get married. Or one of you guys said no. Also, I just feel like Milton and Lydia were just basically, despite, them having the age gap or whatever, they feel very kind of suited with each other. If they can be best friends in the relationship and have great communication, all that stuff. There was really, I wouldn't say too many flaws in their relationship to really be oh, yeah, they're not compatible or something like that. No. I kind of had a feeling that they would get married, and they did. So now let's get to the reunion. We see Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey. They're the host again. They knew the reunion. They knew not to do that reunion live because they knew last season. I know that season 4 reunion. They were like, oh, season 4 is live. We were supposed to watch season 4 reunion live last season. The reunion got delayed. They had to delay it to the next day, which was just what happened to a live reunion at 8 p.m. Eastern. So they knew better this time. They pre-recorded a reunion and uploaded at 8 p.m. tonight. And, that was the better way of doing things anyway, I guess. So we see Milton and Lydia and Stacy and Izzy. Milton and Lydia are still married. And they seem better than ever. Milton's family seems very more welcoming to Lydia and everything, and they're really bonded or whatever. He seems more, I guess, in tune with his feelings in terms of he had I guess he wasn't too emotional, but now he seemed very, emotionally matured. I think he always been matured, even from the show. But, at the reunion, he obviously seems like, he did grow during his time being married to Lydia. Now, Stacy and Izzy, they are not together. They, that's it. Their whole relationship with the whole situation was, I guess, a week after, saying no at the altar. They tried to rekindle their relationship and it didn't go anywhere, and they didn't speak for a year. And then I guess they met somehow by bumping into each other, and yeah, they still didn't, try to pick back up anything. So they're not together, but they seem to be on decent terms where, Stacy can give him, relationship advice and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Now the biggest thing about the reunion was finding out that Chris and Johnny were no longer together. And then they basically said after that barbecue where all the, the pod people came back together or whatever, he had to go away for a wedding. He left for a week, didn't speak to Johnny. Another week, didn't speak to Johnny. And then the week later, basically started dating another person. So he basically cheated on Johnny, and she had to find out from her friend that he's dating another person, which was like a big shocker because everybody felt sad for like little Chris. And Chris ended up doing Johnny a dirty, just cheating on her and not even telling her he was just dating another person. Like, that's it. So basically that's what happened. He cheated on Johnny, he didn't tell her, but before coming to reunion, he obviously did apologize, I guess. And, they're no longer together or whatever. But obviously he's in his relationship and Johnny's also in her relationship. And, they seem to be cordial at this point. They were catching up during the reunion. But, Chris really did Johnny dirty. He really did, because we were all like, okay, he got rejected in the pods, and then, Johnny was trying to spin the block, and he actually did, accepted her being together, and they started dating, and everything was going, I guess, well for them. And then 2 to 3 weeks later, he cheats on her, and it is what it is. Now, Stacy and Izzy, I guess they rehashed the whole situation of where Izzy basically tells Johnny that, she's deceitful or whatever, or she's sketchy, and how basically kind of like how Izzy and Stacy kind of like jumped on Johnny. My thing is that Johnny, she should have, she really just let Stacy and Izzy just go in on her, and she really had no rebuttal. I just feel like she was just, trying to just keep calm and keep silent, because I understand that during the pod sessions, Johnny did say some few things about Stacy and Izzy relationship, how they weren't compatible, that, they're not going to work out because he had a bad credit score, all those things. And, she did admit at the reunion that it was petty. She did admit. But I'm just like, what is Stacy's gripe? Because now it's been a year and some, and you're still kind of like, I don't really have no, she has no, she can't even be cordial with Johnny. And Johnny's just I don't think Johnny ever really personally said something bad directly to Stacy, but Stacy just really just attacked her entire character, and I'm just like, I understand she said some petty comments about their relationship at the time, but you had Izzy laying into Johnny and her character and her relationship with Chris at the time, and it was all fun and games and all good, but when obviously she got rejected by Izzy, and then obviously she was upset, and then she also got rejected by Chris or whatever at the time, she was obviously in her feelings, so she said what she said or whatever. And then obviously if you watch it back before the reunion, you can tell that was out of place of, where she was coming from. But Stacy just had real gripes. We later find out that Izzy and Johnny, I guess, met at a bar in Houston, and, I guess try to see if there's something still there with the relationship. And this was after Chris and her broke up, and Stacy and Izzy were no longer together, and I guess they had a kiss in his Jeep. So they were trying to poke at that, like, oh, like, what do you mean by hang out, or like, what else did you do? But they did share a kiss or whatever in his Jeep, and that was it. And they were just like, he wasn't in a place to date anyone because of the whole Stacy situation, and I think she was just like, it was still fresh of what he said at the barbecue. So at the end of the day, they didn't go anywhere with that relationship, which was very understandable because, like, after somebody basically dissed me off with their fiance, and now I guess a couple weeks later we end up at some type of bar and now we want to reconvene. Like, nah, like, what are you talking about? So that was dumb. Next thing you know, it was like a whole segment between Stacy, Izzy, Johnny, Chris. For a bit, it was like, okay, it was a long segment. You know, when Stacy was kind of like giving her little, I guess, situation about, the whole Izzy Johnny situation. Johnny and Chris were catching up on the sidelines, so that's like one of the highlights, I guess, from the reunion was that, when Stacy was talking, like, Johnny and Chris are having conversation, and Chris are just like, they're just catching up because obviously they probably haven't seen each other until the reunion. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, Stacy has no respect for Johnny at all. They said that, Johnny said that Izzy did apologize in person later, and he did apologize at the reunion to her, but obviously Stacy never apologized, and I don't think she's ever going to. So at the end of the day, if Stacy doesn't even respect Johnny, why should Johnny respect her about saying the same exact thing that she's been saying about, the whole situation about the barbecue or whatever that happened between the pods or whatever with Johnny and Stacy? I mean, just let it be known. Like, well, what's the tea? So if that's the case, so we finally get to Aaliyah, Uche, and Lydia. So Aaliyah comes on, and they actually show a whole flashback between the Lydia and Aaliyah, basically, relationship, like their friendship. They were actually really friends in the pot. And they show that whole situation. And they also showed, I guess, everybody's kind of seeing the clip of where, I guess, Aaliyah's like so happy with Uche, and she's like confiding in Lydia, and he's like, oh, he can see a future of me, and da 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 da. And we see like Lydia just seems like, her facial expression, she's like, maybe she feels a little upset or something like that. I don't know. So there was that. So basically, they're trying to clear up the whole situation of, did they know each other before coming onto the show, or like, what was the whole game plan? So basically, Nick Lachey said that, the producers did know that Lydia and Uche knew each other when they were on the show. And I guess they had the agreement, or they had to keep their word of not saying anything until they were able to, I guess, have a partner, have, people that they were getting along with. And if they did, I guess they could, break their, agreement of silence and not telling anybody. So, but the thing is that Uche was the one who, spilled the tea to Aaliyah about, oh, Lydia, I know Lydia from my past, da 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 da, to Aaliyah. And that's when Aaliyah then came back and told Lydia about it. And then Lydia was like, oh my gosh, I can finally say, everything I been wanting to say. But I had to like keep my code of silence because the producers told them to. So that was the whole situation. So they were like having a question like, okay, should the producers have let them stay on the show, or should they both, Uche and Lydia, should have left the show because they already knew each other? So basically around the table, everybody said that they were fine to stay on the show, but I guess Aaliyah, she wanted that information of Lydia knowing Uche, or them knowing each other beforehand, to be known from the beginning, because I guess she was saying that she would have just stayed away from Lydia and just not bonded with her at all because, she didn't want that to interfere with her relationship. And I understand, if she knew that both the person that she is talking to is like, knows another person here, she's gonna stay away, which is kind of almost similar to what Stacy did. Like, once Stacy kind of knew that Johnny was talking to Izzy, she kept her distance, and I guess Johnny wanted that information of you speaking to Izzy being known, so I guess she felt deceived by that you never said anything or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was known that, Stacy was talking to Izzy as well as Johnny talking to Izzy. And at one point, Izzy did put Johnny above Stacy. It was like I said, what broke the camel's back, or what changed for him, was as soon as Johnny talked about her past relationship. Because I would say, in terms of Stacy and Johnny, he was more emotionally available or whatever to speak to with Johnny than with Stacy. But once that information about Johnny's past came up or whatever, he kind of just like, yeah, no. And was just like, okay, Stacy's his number one, and basically deaded it with Johnny. And that was how it happened. So back to the whole Lydia Uche situation. Aaliyah is basically saying that Lydia and Uche knew that they were going to come on the show together, and they planned this. So Lydia's defense, she's saying that, they did talk about it at one point, that they were applying to the show, but they never got confirmation. So that is her, defense case. She, I guess the show started filming in March of 2022, and Uche and Lydia spoke about it in November of 2021, about being on the show. So that's her defense. She said, like, she didn't have confirmation, but she had a feeling that he would have been on here because, they spoke about it. To be honest, the whole situation is, I feel like it's like people are trying to put the whole entire blame on Lydia as if it's entirely Lydia's fault, when Uche was like 80% to blame. I will say Lydia was very OD of how she went about the whole spilling the tea about Uche to Aaliyah. Because when Aaliyah asked or said, I don't want to hear about Uche, I don't want to hear about your past relationship, she kept continuing. She's continue. And that's where she messed up. She shouldn't have, say like, oh, this is what Uche does, or this is what Uche does, and this is like, no. She should have stopped when Aaliyah asked her to stop. And that's where she went wrong. Because at the end of the day, she did keep her end of the bargain with not really speaking about her and Uche, or really trying to pry into their relationship. She really kept it to herself. It was just until Aaliyah kind of like said, okay, well, Uche basically told me you knew each other and all that. So then she started to be spilling the tea. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Lydia did apologize to Aaliyah about it, and it is what it is. Aaliyah reveals that her and Uche did try to date afterwards, and it just wasn't it. He basically said that he wasn't attracted to Aaliyah, or like that's not his typical type or whatever, something like that. He told Aaliyah. Aaliyah said when she was watching the show back and seeing how, Uche was speaking, or at the barbecue, like she was just like, that's not the type of person that she was speaking to in the pods. So, I mean, I feel like on their own, Aaliyah and Uche just wouldn't work out. I mean, even from him saying that you're a recent cheater to Aaliyah during the pod sessions, I feel like that just was a recipe for disaster in terms of the relationship. I feel like the whole, experience of her not getting to experience the experiment, I feel like Aaliyah does have to take a bit of accountability that, she did leave on her own volition. This is old news. They didn't work out, and Aaliyah is dating somebody new. She's moved on. Uche was invited to a reunion, and he decided not to show up, so that's on him. Basically, around the board, everybody kind of doesn't really mess with Uche like that. He still texts Aaliyah. He still texts Lydia. He still texts Milton. Milton's like, he just keeps him on red. Basically when the show started airing, he texted Lydia about it, and the same message that he sent to Lydia, he sent to Aaliyah. So I feel like nobody really talks to him. Izzy basically says that, he heard that Uche was talking about him. And I will say, since the pods, Uche had some type of issue with Milton and Lydia being together, because it was very obvious, because even Aaliyah picked up on it, like, why? Because he did tell Lee, like, oh, I don't think Milton is going to marry Lydia. That's something like that he told her, and stuff like that. And I think Aaliyah also picked up on it. So he was also very weird about, Lydia and Milton's relationship too. So, like, to really put the blame on Lydia about how she acted when she did all that, it was very OD. Like, she shouldn't have done that, because Aaliyah did tell her to stop. And she kept going in. But at the end of the day, everybody moved on with their lives. I just think that, was Aaliyah's, experiment or experience robbed? I mean, in terms of, a lot of people have to take accountability of how that happened. I mean, they should have showed the alleged fight that Lydia and Aaliyah had, that to where that was the camel that broke, what broke the camel's back, that made Aaliyah left. But, and other than that, they should have that, like, on tape to roll and be like, oh, this is what happened, this is why Aaliyah left. But yeah, Milton, he was trying to stick up for Lydia, and, it is what it is. He tries to stick up for his wife, he's very emotionally mature, like, he's backing his wife to 100%, like, you know what, we gotta rate it. Next thing, last but not least, JP and Taylor came out, and, to, like, really wrap this up, JP still saying that, it was basically the way that Taylor looked, which was off-putting to him. He also said that the cameras being, like, there also made him nervous to, like, how he was supposed to act. And it really wasn't a real reason, because at the end of the day, everybody had cameras in their face 24/7. So you knew what you were getting yourself into if you proceed past the pods, that you were going to be filmed. This was going to be on television. Like, you know what you're doing. But he was saying that the cameras made him nervous, so that's why he didn't speak, that's why he didn't do things, And Taylor's just like, yeah, that's not the real reason. I just feel like maybe you didn't, as soon as you saw me, you weren't attracted, And yeah, it just wasn't really adding up. He's now in a relationship for over a year, and Taylor's seeing somebody. So really, in all, that was the reunion. They played a little game, but that was the reunion. Yeah, Milton and Lydia are still together, and that's the only relationship couple that is still standing from that season. So it's kind of very sad. Like, their success rate, yeah, they need to really rethink how they go about future seasons, if they even continue to have another season after this. Because the fact that you only had 2 weddings and only 1 marriage that came out of the season is very, like, what's going on here? Like, what is going on here? But yeah, I feel like Milton and Lydia, they seem very good together. I mean, despite everything that happened, like Milton said, like, whatever that happened outside the relationship has nothing to do with the relationship. So at the end of the day, he only cares about him and his wife, and that's it, what happens in their relationship. So all those outside factors, he's not really going to put into their relationship. So, and they've been doing very well with that. They also did have a second wedding in Puerto Rico, and yeah, that was very nice. So, they're doing well. It is what it is. Rooting for their success. I didn't have a problem with them at all. Besides Lydia doing way too much with Aaliyah in the first 4 episodes, at the end of the day, that was really it. And, he has grown since then. So it's been, I guess, a year and a half, as they said, since they got married. So you can already tell that, the producers and productions already, try to film another season somewhere else, because they filmed this March 2022. Yeah. March 2022, they said. Yeah, and they've been married a year and a half. Yeah, they already done film another 6th season, another 7th season this year. So we'll see that sometime later. But that was my review on Love Island. I keep on saying Love Island, but that was my review on Love is Blind season 5. This season was just really, definitely could have been an email. It did not give like it usually does give. Besides the whole barbecue incident, that was it. That was really the season, because nothing really moved. But yeah, that was Love is Blind season 5 reunion. And if you guys like this video, like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.